Welcome back to Rebel Driver's Garage, and we're getting ready to do some work on that thing, my 1974 Lund Tempest GT jet boat. Follow along. This is it here. It's actually still got the winter cover on it. The cockpit still has a cover underneath that, but the engine cover on the back here, which I'll show you, is not waterproof in the slightest bit. So if I didn't leave this on here with all the rain and snow, the engine bay would be completely covered and filled with water. So let's get this thing off, the cover off, and I can show you the boat. I'm not going to take it completely off because we're expecting rain in a few hours, so no way I can recover it if I have to. I took this boat out last summer once. I bought it last June, so I've had it about a year, but it's only been out once. Okay, so this is what the cockpit looks like, and they have these wonderful bucket seats that look like they came out of a 1960s sports car, and the back seat is a wraparound type of deal. This middle part folds forward, and you get to see the front of the engine, which is a 350 Chevy. It is a interesting combination of parts here, and this is the engine cover I was telling you about. There's no seal around here, so one of the things I'm going to do is replace the old-fashioned hood pins here with, well, more old-fashioned new hood pins, ones that kind of match. These are see, they've been using string. String does not last forever on a boat, so I'm going to use stainless steel lanyards. Try to lift this up. There we go. You can look down on it. That is a 1974 Chevrolet 350 engine. At least the short block is. I looked up the suffix code here last year, and the block casting number way back down in there, and it comes up as the 1974 Chevrolet truck short block. Now, if you look closely at the cylinder heads, those are not 1974 Chevrolet cylinder heads. Those are early fuel-y heads, like pre-1968, 68 and older. So because they have no accessory bolt holes in them, it's got like Z28 or Z28 style valve covers on it. It's got a Holley. I think this is a Street Dominator or Street. What is this thing? Street Dominator intake manifold. Well, Holley Marine style 600 carburetor. HEI distributor. So all this stuff was kind of added onto last year. 1974. The year before HEI came out, so they obviously added that. This is not really an air cleaner. This is just a chrome air cleaner lid on top of the spark arrestor, and that's a spark arrestor. Boat engines don't have actual air cleaners as such. They have spark arresters, so if it ever backfires, it won't blow flame out of the carburetor. And when you have an enclosed engine compartment with fumes, gas fumes, and everything else in here, you do not want flame in there coming out of the carburetor. This hose fitting back here is how you run it on the out of the water. it puts water in the exhaust and into the engine. And and it'll drop water out the back too. So I don't run it very long like that because the water pump, I don't think, is picking up any water from that. It also has pre-1968 or older short water pump. Yeah, so it's got a short water pump, and that's a crank pulley that would be seen on most cars 1968 or older for the crank, for just and it's got a low mounted alternator. It doesn't have the high mounted alternator because of the engine compartment as well. And there's the bilge pump. Now if you're looking at this thing and you're going, wait a minute, this is all the access you got to it. It's no fun to work on, I can tell you that. It's an OMC jet drive, and the boat also has two 18-gallon gas tanks. There's one on each side. I've only filled that one up, the opposite side of where I sit, for weight distribution. It ran fantastic last year, but I did have some problems. So one of the problems was the throttle linkage, which I was messing with because it was so hard to get this thing in the right position in order to pull this. You have to pull this out to get it to start. And you see, it has to be exactly in the right position, otherwise this won't pull out. So I've had a bunch of issues with that. And then the steering is super stiff, which means I might need a new steering cable. I also want to get rid of that old radio. The old Jensen cassette deck there, which was pretty nice radio for back in the day, but kind of outlived its usefulness now. So I have a new radio for that. I think it's a Boss. Can't remember. I'll have to look at the package. I bought it last year but never installed it. I also have a new knob for this. This one broke. You can see it's broken. So I'm gonna pull this out of the panel so I can pull it back. I have to pull it back to here, to this panel here, pull the cables out, and I think I have the cables mixed up. I have the throttle cable and the transmission cable in the wrong position, and that probably was half my problem. You can see, oh Lord, how stiff it is to turn. So pull that out. I got to figure out what it is, and probably replace the entire steering cable, which is not a pretty penny. I really do like this boat. I just got to get used to driving a jet boat. They drive completely differently. It's like driving a jet ski compared to a boat. So bear with me while we get going. So I pulled the throttle assembly out of the sideboard here, and what goes on is that if you don't have this, it was jammed is what it was. The throttle, this is the transmission, this is the throttle for the carburetor, and you have to have it perfectly centered in order to pull this out, and you have to have that out in order. This basically is the neutral safety switch. So what it does is it pulls that in and out. What happens is if you try to operate, if you don't have this all the way back in before you try to drive the boat, it jams everything up inside the mechanism, and you basically have to take the whole dang thing apart and recenter everything and put it all back together. And I think I got it all figured out now. I mean, it's going in and out like it's supposed to, like that. See? Alright. And right now I don't have the throttle cable connected to the carburetor. I got to redo that because it's not set up right now. It's centered here, right? As you see, it's centered there. But it's not even close to touching the carburetor linkage. So I might have to do some adjustments on there or redo this setup here. And when I bought the boat, the guy was fiddling with it. The owner of the boat was fiddling with it to try to get it to start. And it was like 5 minutes of him farting around with the linkage here and trying to get the button to come out. And so, and I might just readjust everything based on the way it's working right now. Readjust the throttle linkage on cable on that, because I can pull it forward. You see, I can pull it all the way forward on this bracket and probably reach what I need to reach here. But first, I'm going to get it started, and all I need to do, I got the hose hooked up. Turn the hose on and see if it'll fire. I can't run it very long because it looks like the carburetor is now leaking gasoline, which means I need to pull the carburetor off and rebuild it. I got the water running. My hose is kinking up every 2 feet. You can hear it dribbling out the back there. So it's going out the exhaust. Pressure, not great. One of the hoses is not connected to the exhaust. I gotta hook that up. Pulled one of the plugs out. I was kind of surprised that it's actually a smaller plug, what they call the peanut plug with the 5/8 hex. I thought it was going to be the bigger one because these are earlier heads. Oh God, I don't know. But anyway, it's an R44T AC Delco. It looks pretty much brand new. Though it's got, you know, the typical rust that would happen on a boat that's, you know, where moisture gets in the engine compartment. But these look really good. And they're not R44TSs, they're just R44Ts. interesting. So those are the new pins that are in. I put a washer on the lanyards. The reason why I got these is because I wanted a lanyard on these so I don't lose these in the water. And this engine cover doesn't really have a handle. So, but Mother Nature's looking kind of ominous, so I'm going to stop here and recover the boat. Well, it's now 4 hours later. The little pop-up thunderstorm turned into a full-blown rainstorm, and 5 miles south of here got pummeled with golf ball sized hail. So we dodged a bullet. I'm looking at the oil here. I mean, if you look at the oil, it looks really it looks pretty damn good. I don't know why I'm changing it. It does smell old though. And I got this I'm gonna change the oil in the filter. And as you're looking down in here, you go, where's the filter at? I'm going to use the camera to see what the filter is. I can't even see it through the front of the engine, so let's find out. Oh, it's a Fram Joy. Well, we're going to get rid of that. I'm going to put a K&N filter on it. So what I did is I got a drain pan here, so I'm going to just see if I can shove it underneath the filter. Okay, so I got the K&N on there, and I didn't make much of a mess. I just put a big rag underneath there because none of my drain pans will fit underneath this with the stringer here, and the oil pan being in the way. So now to get the oil out of the pan without draining it right into the bilge. So I bought this kit here it's from Cabela's. No, I bought this actually from the local marine place. This was like $60. So, because I didn't order, I should have ordered it right off of Amazon, but hey, supporting a local shop, so what the hell. Anyways, it's basically it's like your weed sprayer, except it works in reverse. It's a suction, not compression. So we're gonna give it a shot, see if we can suck how much oil we can suck out of this thing, out of the crankcase through the dipstick tube. See what we do. See how it's just kind of moving on its own now, slowly filling up here in the bottom of the jug. It's actually working pretty good. An air version of this would be nicer, like a vacuum bleeder. After the rain here, you got rabbits everywhere running around out back here in the alley. While waiting for the oil, I'm going to remove this. This Jensen here. This bass boost. This was top of the line when it was new. 18 FM presets, 6 AM presets. It was probably a 45, 50 watt channel per channel radio. It's top of the line when it was new for Jensen. Still works. The antenna is actually runs down in here. It's like sitting on top of this center console thing here, and it runs down there. So I'm just gonna start pulling knobs off. If it'll come off. So I got a K&N oil filter on it, and I'm putting a 5 quarts of this 2050 VR1 because this thing is a 1974 engine. Like you told me, story goes is that it had a 305 in it originally, And his brother, who actually owned the boat at the time, bought a brand new 74 Chevy truck. It had a 350 in it, and the truck was totaled within a few weeks of buying the truck, and they pulled the motor and put it in here. But I don't know. Since it was one family owned the boat before I got it, probably should take his word for that. One thing I can't stand looking at on my boat anymore is this Buick hubcaps. Yeah. Need to get some of those. Didn't lose a lot of grease. I drove this 800 miles. Throw that on the top of the spare. You can buy bearing buddy caps almost anywhere. Yeah, you've got bearing buddies on it, but no caps. That makes no sense. So this first part was filmed in July, and I was working on the boat outside. It was hot. I had to recover the boat every single night when I was done with it. And it got to be a real pain in the butt, so I decided to kind of ignore it for a while. And now it's October. I kicked my Impala out of the garage, somehow managed to wedge that boat into my little garage, and started working on it in kind of earnest to get some more stuff done. Follow along. I haven't winterized it yet. I still want to do some work on it. It's still 75 to 80 degrees every single day, so there's not really a big rush. And in here, well, my garage is heated and insulated, so anyway, but I did have to eject my 65 Impala in order to do this. So I'm going to do some work on it. And the first thing I need to do is get all the covers off of it. You guys can't see it, but I have a new garage door. My other one imploded. My garage door opener, which was new last year, pulled it apart like a cheap beer can. Folded in half. So I got this baby here. Pretty proud how I installed it myself. There. Oof. You can smell it's been covered up for a while. I got the engine cover open. I gotta watch my head because I'm like literally right in the lights now. But it reeks of gasoline because the carburetor is leaking. I got a carburetor kit for this. This is like a carburetor off of an '89 Ford truck, which I suppose works. I guess. Anyhow, I got another one sitting over there on the shelf too. But I want to it was leaking all over the place when I started up the engine earlier this year, and I've been so damn busy with home repairs, like garage doors that fold up like beer cans, that I haven't been working on this thing all summer. I haven't even got it out on the water. I did fire it up once. Ran pretty good for a carburetor that's leaking all over the place. And so, man, does it stink. It's not like it's, I mean, the gasoline is only a year old. I mean, there's gas in that tank there. I don't think there's any gas in that tank. But that is not an air cleaner. That is called a spark arrestor. And does exactly what you think it does. It arrests sparks for in case you ever backfire. The reason why you also have an air pump in your build is so you can get all those gas fumes out of here before you start your engine. And mine is down in there somewhere. I don't know where it's at. It's down here somewhere. Oh, there, it's way over there in the corner. And let me see if I can turn it on. There's a switch here. It says blower down here. Blower. See, blower. And I'm not getting any juice. Did I leave the power on? I don't think I left the power on. There it goes. Yeah. You hear it running? What it does, it's actually blowing dirt out of the exhaust vents up here. This one faces forward, lets air in, and this one lets air out. When you're going down the water, it sucks air in and it pushes air back out there. Definitely necessary if you have an enclosed engine compartment like this one does. What I really just wanted to do tonight, I wanted to get something done. As you remember before, I think I fixed my throttle linkage setup. I haven't reinstalled it yet. I took out the old AM/FM cassette deck that was in the boat, and I'm going to replace that with a radio too. And then rebuild the carburetor. I want to put new plug wires on because I think these are terrible and I don't like them. And spark plugs look fine when I had it out. I did the oil change already for this year, so there's no point in redoing that. I also want to replace all the old petcocks that are in the motor for draining it, and the block drains that are down in there, which you can't see. I can't even see them when I take them out. I got to do it all by feel. I want to put petcocks on those. See, here's one here for the exhaust, and there's ones down here for the exhaust. And I want to replace them because they're getting old. I think, yeah. Well, that one actually turned by hand. Usually I got to put a pair of pliers on these. Yeah, but nothing. Yeah, it's just dribbling out rusty water. So I want to get all this out. So I bought 6 just for the boat. There's 4 on the exhaust. And then there's 2 on the block itself, 1 on each side for the water jackets in the block. And those are the ones that are really, really important to drain, because the block will, if it freezes, the water in the block freezes when it's full of water, it'll actually expand and crack the block. Not good. Then you replace the motor. And getting a motor out of that hole will not be any fun. So I'm going to keep going on this. Let me get some tools and we'll get this carburetor off. I got the carburetor off. I'm going to rebuild it. I just took it off the boat, and I'm going to rebuild it here. All right. So this thing has got some dangerous stuff for a boat. It's got this really old fuel line where they have an adapter fitting to go from 3/8 down here at the fuel pump up to 5/16. Instead of changing one of the fittings to fit, like the one on the carburetor or the one on the fuel pump, it does have that Holley fuel filter there, which I'm going to clean out, but it's got a lot of old fuel line. I mean, see, it's got, like, hey, look at this. It's got a, sorry, I mean, it's dark in here, so get a light on you. So it's got this like a union here with a piece of copper line, which is dangerous as hell in a boat. And where's my can? Okay, turn around over here, and this side, it's got like an old braided style, like a nylon braided style fuel line, and you got the old ball valve there, which doesn't move, so it's probably, this shit's like 50 years old. And so I'm gonna replace all of this. And here's some more fun stuff. Look at how they use home wiring ties to to wire the new bilge pump in. And that wire there, this black wire, it's so damn thick, stiff. It feels like a solid core, like home wiring. I replaced a whole bunch of those wire tires underneath the dasher. I think I replaced 18 of them last year. Oh yeah, it also has this clicky clacky pump, which actually still works. And it just has this wire. Oops. My light just died. It has this wire going nowhere. I'm assuming that they use that to prime the system after, you know, like it's sat all winter or something. That's the only thing I can think of. But it only comes from, I don't know. I'll have to figure out his fuel system on this. And I'm going to refix it and simplify it and make it work. Okay, I got the Holley carburetor rebuilt, which is actually a Holley carburetor for Motorcraft. As I've said, this came off of, the list number shows it comes off of a 89 Ford truck with a 351 Windsor. Just kind of goes to the, you know, the mix and match stuff that are on this engine. I mean, it's got a Holly Street Dominator that was cast by the Winners Foundry. And I kind of look underneath the valve cover because, you face it, the bolt for this was loose. So I said, oh, okay. And I'm replacing the plug wires. And so I pulled the valve cover off, and let me get a light over here so you can read it. 391721, and a casting date of, see, F is June 7th, 67. These are 1967, 302 and 350 horsepower, fuelie heads. And it looks like they've been taken care of because look at it's really clean in here. I mean, it's really clean. Look at that. Okay, I got the fuel line all in. Get my light out here so you can see. So I replaced every inch of fuel line going all the way over to both tanks. To the valve there, to the clicky clacky pump, which still works, so I'm going to leave it. I'm going to replace that Holley fuel filter there. It's a canister style fuel filter. I don't know if they're still available. If not, I'm going to replace it with a metal filter. It goes over the fuel pump and then up and over. Here's the mess that I took out. So, next thing you do is to fix the stiff steering. And I have the cable unhooked at the jet. Now I gotta reach way down in there to unscrew it from the transom. Yeah. This is not gonna be fun. So I gotta lay down across here. Got my blankie. Here is that steering cable I pulled out of my boat. It is over 17 feet long. It is, just look at it, it's like hiding way over there behind the garage door. I just pulled it out to measure it and well, now I've been tripping over it since I pulled it out of the boat. So I have a new one back over here. See if I can get around the boat hitch without knocking my kneecaps off. This is the set I bought. I got this off the internet. Basically the same style setup, though what I like is it has a new shaft and all that, because that one over there is like 50 years old. But it's probably not going to work with just this part here. Oops, this part here and the cable. So let's get this open and take a look at it. Alright, so let's get this thing open. The last one I bought for my other boat, if you take it out of the box, you'll never get it back in the box. It's that kind of thing. This is supposed to be an 18-foot cable. 18 feet long. Stuffed in this little box. Drop some stuff already. Whoa, just got that right in the face. So this is the dash thing, and this is what goes through the dash, and it has this gear in it that this part bolts to. It's already pre-greased, which is nice. And I'm gonna take this over here and measure it against the old one. I measured that one out end to end 17 feet 6 inches, and this one's supposed to be 18 foot according to the box. These are about $200. Buying it locally was like around $400. It was like a lot more money than buying it at one of the local boat repair places and boat dealer. And then they're trying to sell it by application, and you know, when you have a 50-year-old boat, they can't do anything right. So so I went and bought this by myself. This one is it's called the steering rack system by Dometic. SS141 is the model number, and then it has the an 18 after it on the part number here, SS14118 for the length. What else we got here? Ooh, instructions! We don't need stinking instructions, do we? Well, these are instructions for a different model. Hopefully these are the instructions for what I have. Anyhow, let's get this over here. Get the twist ties. Like there's 25 twist ties holding it together. And as soon as I get these off, I'll never be able to get this thing back together. I know it. Okay, as you can see, here's the gear end. As you can see, they kind of look the same. I'm not going to take that plastic off. I'm going to do that right before I bolt it together, so that way I don't get grease all over everywhere. And it measures a little bit over a foot longer, which is all right. I'll have to do a little bit of fighting to get it through the hole and screwed on. And but the ends look the same, so I shouldn't have any trouble connecting it to the stern drive or the steering system on the back of the boat, the jet drive or the jet nozzle. So I think we're going to be okay. Check out my new steering wheel. Yeah, so I got me a gold metal flake steering wheel from Moon Eyes. That should go really well with the gold metal flake boat. I thought about doing white, but white's going to get dirty really easy. But this gold metal flake wheel from Moon Eyes is really retro looking, and I think it'll work really, really nice with the boat. What do you guys think, huh? The other thing I tried to install was the new steering kit I got. And it comes with the setup for a 90 degree. Well, the original setup was not 90 degree. Where's that chrome bezel at? The original setup was kind of up at like 20 degrees. So this kit comes with everything except the wedges to make it steering. So I'll give you an example. So if the steering wheel came straight out of the dash here, I'm gonna back this camera up so you can see better. Okay, so if it came straight out of the dash, it would be hitting me in the kneecaps. And this is the same size steering wheel that was on it. Here's the old steering wheel. Right? Okay, hitting me in the kneecaps if it comes out of the steering. So I had to order the wedges, which I went back to Amazon where I got the steering cable and got the 20 degree wedges. So the steering wheel is going to be turned like this. at an angle. See, you know, something like that, so I can get my knees underneath of it and drive. And I'm a skinny guy, so in case anybody of real size wants to drive this boat, I'm gonna have to do that. So, but I don't know. Kind of like that gold. I'm really beginning to dig that gold. Thought about going back and reusing the old steering shaft, and because the bolt pattern's the same but there's a problem. You see how there are many of the teeth here compared to the teeth number here, so it won't integrate with the new cable. So I had to order another 40 bucks for the wedge kit. And then see how the plate here is got sorry, I'm leaning over trying to get this stuff off of the floor. See how these have got like a slotted on them, so you can rotate this like that. And then the new wedge kits come with it. I'm not too happy about having to use a plastic thing. I'm hoping I could figure out some way to reuse the chrome bezel. I'm not a big fan of just crappy plastic like that. Anyway, my other deal is I also installed a stereo, which I'm going to take out. This is a Boss. I never bought a Boss before. It's a Bluetooth. It's marine quality. And I put it in and I hook it up and it sounds like crap. Speakers that I had in here, in the boxes that I put in the boxes, I've tested on my other car and they sound fantastic. But the sound's terrible with this radio. I've never had a radio put out crappy sound. I just had crappy speakers. So what I did is I ran the wires, and see here's one of the wires here, which I'm going to run, and I'm going to put a speaker back there and a speaker over here on this side, and then I'll have the two underneath the dash. And I hooked up the speakers, like, oh, this sounds awful. It's like distorting way too early. And then just to be unsure if it's like, okay, maybe the speakers are crummy. So I went and got outside and got my 6x9 boxed 6x9s out of my truck. And I tried them out, and it still sounded crummy. Well, they sound fantastic in my truck with a Pioneer radio. So I took these speakers out to my truck and hooked them up to my truck's radio, and they sound great. They sound fine. So what a waste of money. Don't ever buy one of these. I mean, and I got this one at Wally World, and I'll never do that again. I'm gonna bust out and buy some like Alpine or Kenwood or JVC or Pioneer or something like that and get a decent radio. I don't know why it has to be marinized, but but the radio that wasn't in it was not marinized. It was a Jensen cassette deck from the 1980s. So we'll see what happens next. Well, I finally got this new steering shaft in. The cable isn't in yet, but this was a fight and a half. I had to order the wedges. Extra wedge kit. That was an extra 40 bucks. But it allows me to have, like you see, of course I'm not fat, so, but even guys with chunky thighs can get their legs underneath the steering wheel here. Which is good. Plenty of room between me and the, back here for those guys with real bellies. Not this flat tummy guy here. And it matches the gold really. It's a little darker, but hey, matches really nicely. So now it comes time to feed the cable through the boat. And what it's going to do, eventually it's going to be from the back of the steering wheel all the way down the side there, come through the engine compartment, make this like S-turn, and go out the hole in the transom. And then there's a little doohickey here. Now, I suppose I could feed it the other direction that way, but I got the big gear on the back of it, which is way down there on the ground. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crawl underneath the dash, and I'm gonna start feeding this around the dash this way, like that, because it's all open underneath there, above that little console thing in the middle. So it's basically open above that piece right there, and I can feed it around, and then this little small part here will be easier to get to go through down the side there. There's like hooks. I think there's 4 or 5 hooks going down here that I'll lay the cable up on top of once I get it fed through. And since you're not going to be able to see anything except me lying underneath the dashboard, I'm going to turn the camera off right now. So I have the cable fed through the transom tube here, which I got to grease, hooked up to the nozzle on the jet, and of course I have the steering wheel is off, so I'm going to have to pull it off behind the dashboard and recenter the steering wheel. But we can find out how it's steering by me hooking up a camera here. There you go. Oh yeah, it's like one finger turn. Yeah, that's so much better. Slow, nice and easy. Before, it was like literally everything you could do to turn the wheel. So that's real nice. But what I'll do is recenter the jet here by hand, and then recenter my steering wheel. So this is the steering cable behind the dash. What you see there, you can see the steering column there. And this is the gear that's in here. It has a gear inside of this. And to center the steering wheel, all I have to do is loosen up those 4 bolts, lift the plate up a little bit, the gear plate up a little bit, rotate the wheel and retighten them, and then get it recentered. And you saw in some of my other videos, I went through and cleaned up a lot of wiring in here. There are like all these home wiring ties everywhere. These oops, sorry, there's just so much light up here. These like that one right there is like the heat shrink. Those are mine. So everywhere you see one of those, I replaced a home wiring tie. And they have these type of solderless bud connectors and stuff, which I'm not a big fan of these. I like the uncovered ones, and then used either this style here, right there, or just barrel ones, and I use heat shrink over the top of them. These are a heat shrink style, which I like better. There must have been 20 of them back here. There's more. I just realized I just saw one connecting the tachometer to the distributor. So, and for the bilge pump, there's 2 more I want to do in the engine compartment, but I'll probably wait till spring and get those going. There's a couple of things I'm going to leave until spring. So one of the things I'm going to do is pull the spark plugs out. You can see them down there behind the manifolds. And use this fogging oil in the cylinders, part of winterizing the engine. The carburetor's dry, so I'm not going to restart it. And I already put stable in the gas tank, because they're still stable in there from last year. You can see the petcocks I put in. I replaced all of them. Got that one tapped out, so I don't know if it's going to leak or not. I can always pull it out and put a lot of like thread sealer tape on it, I suppose, if it starts leaking next year. I think I want to leave the carb dry this winter, so I'm not going to try to start it or fill it up. I'll prime it. You know, I got this clicky clacky here. You can see all the new fuel lines in. See all the new fuel lines? It's all new in there. I'm going to keep the clicky clacky pump and use it as like a lift pump or a primer pump. And then So if it sits for a while, it'll be easier to get it started, to reprime the carburetor. And then I'll just let the mechanical pump do the work when it's running, because it worked last year like that. So I'm going to get these spark plugs out and fog the cylinders. It was already after Thanksgiving when I finally finished putting the steering system on the boat, and I had priorities on the cars I needed to get done. So I decided I was going to stop there and just fill the block up with marine antifreeze, and then put it outside for the winter, so I could get to my cars that needed some attention, and my truck needs attention as well. So I'm ending the video on this, and we'll get to this. I still have to do the stereo, which is not really a big deal, but I really need to fix that throttle setup on that boat. It's such a pain in the butt to deal with, and I'm going to do that in the spring. And then I'm going to add one other thing. I'm going to add a switch for the clicky clock fuel pump on the dashboard, so I can use it and I don't have to screw around with the way they did it before. So thank you for watching, and if you like these kind of videos, like and subscribe. If you have any questions, just hit me up. I'll answer them.